The lead up to the 17th century was rife with turmoil and social shift, both inside and outside England. Roughly 50 years prior to Shakespeare's birth, the church reforms had swept through the continent, challenging and giving the public alternatives to the Catholic Church of Rome, including Lutheranism and Calvinism. Though initially resisted, a large part of this movement was pioneered within England from Henry VIII's decision to divorce his first wife, which led to a break from the Catholic Church through the Pope's refusal to grant him the divorce. This led to the crown seizing properties and wealth of the monasteries, and England was thrown into kind of a religious identity crisis over the next few decades in regards to Protestantism and Catholicism. Elizabeth, a Protestant, became a queen in 1558, as she succeeded her Catholic half-sister and reigned until 1603, presiding over an extraordinary rise in England's fortunes, both in national unity and political strength. Prior to this, Mary had left England a weak thing, a bone between the two dogs of France and Spain. As the strength of the nation grew, through both the defeat of the Spanish Armada and as well as the Catholic uprisings, there was a simultaneous bloom in literature, classical studies, historiography, geography and philosophy, which has made the Elizabethan era practically synonymous with the English Renaissance. Upon her deathbed, the apparently delirious Elizabeth formed a crown above her head with her hands, and this was apparently taken as a sign to say that King James VI of Scotland, who, by the way, was totally homo, was to be her successor. Henceforth, he became James I of England and Scotland, and this began the slow descent from the Elizabethan success to issues which would slowly lead to the First English Civil War. Elizabeth's emphasis on national unity meant that she was one to compromise. She skillfully allowed herself to act on level despite her monarchical status with the gentry and her advisors, and henceforth the idea of divine right was slightly compromised for the benefit, and there was little issues as most decisions were made with tact, and were not made for Elizabeth herself, but the country that she eventually declared herself married to. The issue with James was that he, unlike this, was far more fixated on the divine right concept, and believed in his own entitlement of how England should be run, which through its very nature created a whole ton of problems that weren't there before. Now, as its title suggests, King Lear is a play about kingship, written during a period where the monarchy was of central importance, and the role of the monarch was under constant scrutiny, and subject to endless theorization, which was suddenly troubling for James as a ruler. But this started even before Elizabeth's demise. Through the 1590s, Shakespeare often dwelt on the nature of monarchy, and the history of the plays of the period can actually be not just read as historical narratives featuring kings, but also ponderings on the monarchical rule. In Lear, we see Shakespeare tackle the issue of patriarchal monarchy, where the king is figured as the head of both his own family and that of the state, a staple of the Jacobean understandings of the relationship between the monarch and the country that saw in it an analogy to the relationship between the patriarch and his household. While Lear might not have been the ruler of almost mythical status from ancient Britain, King Lear articulates pressing contemporary concerns about the power of earlier modern kings.